Are they good? Are they great? Are they horrific? We're going to take a look. Okay, everybody, today what we're going to do is we're going to go back in time and look at the 10 best, the 10 worst, and the 10 most, sequels ever made. Now, to be on this list, keep in mind, they have to have a couple of little criteria. One, they have to be the direct sequel to the original. No part of the series, no part 4, no part 5. That has to be part 2 in the sequence. Number 2, well, this ain't really a rule, but just keep in mind, these are my opinions. You can have yours, I can have mine. It's just the way it is. It's more like a favorites list or a most unfavorite list. So just roll with that. And lastly, keep in mind I haven't seen every sequel ever made. Just the way it goes, folks. I know it sounds hard to believe, but I haven't. I haven't seen the new Avatar flick. I haven't seen all those Lord of the Ring movies because that kind of stuff just doesn't interest me at all. So, there's things that won't be here. These are things that I've seen, I'm going to give my opinion on, and that's just the way we're going to roll it. Alright, let's get rolling with the 10 worst motion picture sequels of all times. Movies that made me so angry I wanted to throw my soda at the screen. As I sat there, I felt like somebody just came up to one of my, well, whatevers and went, ugh. That kind of pain. Movies that really just upset me and broke my heart. There's a lot of movies that could have been on this list too. Let's be honest. I didn't get in there Graffiti Bridge, which was an insult after Purple Rain. I didn't get in there An American Werewolf in Paris, which I just don't know why they made it. And I didn't even get in there Blues Brothers 2000, which is like, there's no Belushi in it. What are we doing? But, narrowed it down to these 10, and let's get to work. We're talking about number 10, 1973's Scream, Blackula Scream. The first movie is one of my all-time favorite campy little horror movies of all time. It's cheesy, it's goofy, it's perfect, and it's, I don't know, it is what it is. This one felt like a cash grab. It felt like something that wasn't even worthy of having that name on it. So, all the charm was gone. Nothing really made you feel any better. And the character was friggin' dead from the first one. They should have let it be. Number 9. Same thing. Happened again. We're talking about Legend of Bogey Creek 2. Everybody loves the first. Everybody knows the first. It was a documentaries type feel. It made it just feel like you were there, hanging with these people, watching and living it. And I get it. It wasn't, but you got the feeling. The second one was an actual movie. The director even started it. I don't know what he was thinking. I don't know why they made it, but you just couldn't do that after the first one. If this thing was just some cornball flick and the first one never existed, maybe you could roll with it. But after the first one, no, didn't work. Number 8, 1996's The Crow City of Angels. Let me help everybody out here for a second. When your star, who is on the verge of going on to a legendary movie career, dies on set, and that character is now so connected to him that you cannot separate the two. You do not do remakes. You certainly don't do like a reboot like they goddamn did last year in 2024. You leave it alone. And especially if you're going to make a shit flick. So, The Crow City of Angels, I just remember wanting to take a garbage can and smack a goddamn movie producer over the head with it. It was one of those feelings. It never should have been done. Number 7, 1986's King Kong Lives. Let me help you out. Nobody wants to see Lady Kong, Baby Kong, and King Kong with a heart transplant. Yes, King Kong with a heart transplant. It was the stupidest thing ever made. It was dumb. It was ridiculous. Everything about it was cheesy and lame looking, and I honestly don't know why they would have followed up this incredible Dino De Laurentiis production of the 76 version, which I loved, and I went and seen as a kid, and I even got the plastic cups and the games and the friggin' puzzles and all that kind of stuff, with this piece of trash. This movie is horrible. It's lame. Yeah, sure, Linda Hamilton has a sleeping bag scene that kind of came and went really quick that everybody liked. But other than that, this movie is garbage. Don't waste your time. Number 6, 2004's Starship Troopers 2, whatever the hell they called it. Listen, the first one was basically showgirls in space. It was campy, it was lame, it was exploitative, and those are the reasons that we liked it. It was violent, it was loaded with nudity, and it just took you on a almost RoboCop feeling ride of like, this is what it is. Sit back, enjoy it. Don't look for anything that's any kind of moral equivalent to a good movie. You're just supposed to take this in and laugh. And that's what you got. This one was everything but. It was one of those motion pictures where you sit there and say, why did it get made? Oh, the name. Period. Number 5, the most painful motion picture ever in my life. Very might have been this. 1996's Escape from L.A. Now, before everybody shits the bed, you all know John Carpenter is my favorite director of all time. Bar friggin' none. And you know Kurt Russell is my favorite actor of all time. Bar friggin' none. But I went to see a sequel, not a remake. And no matter how many great things that both these guys have done together or separately through the years, it doesn't make up for the fact that I went and seen Escape from New York, remade, just shittier and goofier. That's all it was. I sat in the theater, about a half hour in, I'm like, oh, no. Things have gone wrong. Things have gone very wrong. Breaks my heart. It is what it is, but there's no way of breaking the real fact, the true statement that this movie is shit. Number 4, 1984's Conan the Destroyer. Listen, if it wasn't for the first one, this thing wouldn't be that bad. But the first Conan was vicious and brutal and violent and everything a barbarian sword and sorcery movie should be. This thing was over the top. And then you followed up with a watered-down PG, almost comedy version of it. It just wasn't going to fly. You already had Beastmaster. You didn't need this. And Beastmaster was a better goddamn production, by the way. It is what it is. This motion picture didn't need to be made. Nobody wants to see Conan the Barbarian in this kind of goofy, laid-back, simpleton version. This is a movie that, yes, if you want to watch it along with like At the Earth's Core or something like that. And you'll be like, okay, you know what? I just got done watching Warlords from Atlantis, Conan the Destroyer. But if you put it next to the original, it's a lame comparison and just a heartbreaking flick. Number 4, 1977's The Exorcist 2, The Heretic, or whatever. The first one was amazing. The third one was really, really good. This thing was boring. It was lame. Nobody enjoyed it. Nobody wanted it. So why did they make it? Because they could make some cash. It is what it is. It's plain. It's simple. It had that name on it, and they ran with it. Avoid it. Actually, watch it. Watch it just so you won't like it. Just for giggles. Abuse yourself one night. It is what it is. Let's move on. Number 2, the year 2000. The Blair Witch Project 2. No. The first one was a found footage film. No matter what some people think of it, I enjoyed it. I thought it was actually kind of tense-filled, and it had what it needed. I was more on the edge of my seat with that movie than a lot of other flicks in a long time. Some people might say there was nothing going on. It was all psychological. That was the point. There was not that much going on. But I thought it was well done. I thought it was the best thing I'd seen in a while. The sequel was dog shit. It was a bunch of goddamn kids in some cornball straight real movie. And you're sitting there saying this has nothing to do with the other flick. It just doesn't. Or at least a sense of style and the sense of vibe. And basically the kind of motion picture that it was. It was a completely different thing, much like Bogey Creek 2. And then you're sitting there going, this isn't what I signed up for. Why am I here? And number 1. And you knew it was going to be number 1 if you've ever watched this channel. 1991's Highlander 2. A motion picture that is literally so bad, they keep chopping it up and putting out new versions of it, and it just keeps getting shittier. Nobody wanted to see Highlander from space. Nobody wanted to watch this motion picture and have their heart broken, but we did. And the thing is, the trailer looked cool. They gave Connor a great look with the hair and the trench coat. And you're like, man, this looks awesome, until the freaking movie started. And you're like, this is dog shit. There are laughing crow people. This movie sucks. What am I doing here? The director needs to be, whatever. I don't want to say about sticking a hot fucking poker in his ass, but you know the old saying. All right, everybody, now we are on to the top 10 meh sequels of all time. And when I say that, I mean those movies that you went and you saw, and you're like, this wasn't that bad. It wasn't great. It wasn't the original, but I don't feel violated. I don't feel like they just ripped off my money and smacked me in the face. I feel like they gave me a somewhat decent couple hours of entertainment. Lived off the other name. I get it. But I walked out going, you know what? Not bad. I'll take it. Not great, but not bad. Let's roll. Number 10, 2012, The Expendables 2. I know what you're thinking. My God, man, the Expendables movies were so cheesy and they were supposed to be cheesy and corny. They gave you what you wanted, 80s action. And the second one, I thought delivered basically as well as the first one. And plus, you had the Van Daminator in it. Come on. Expendables 2 was a good ride. Yeah, the third one really started falling off, and the fourth one, I actually never even finished it in the theaters. I left for like 15 minutes before the end. I had to hear about Stallone coming back. It was one of those things I'm like, no. I got other shit to do. Number 9, 1992's Tremors 2. Come on, yes, for a movie that they couldn't get the original two stars back together again. Yes, you wanted Fred Ward. Yes, you wanted Kevin Bacon. But you only got one of them. And you know what? They just had fun, and they gave you a cute little movie that was enjoyable. I liked Tremors 2. Was it the first? No. But it was a good 75% of the first, and that was good enough for me. I enjoyed it. I watched it. I had a good time. I left. What more do you need? Number 9, 1983's Psycho 2. Who would have thought that they could make it a sequel to Psycho and have it actually somewhat enjoyable? Yeah, and then play the great switcherooski of making Norman Bates almost a sympathetic character. You're like, you feel bad for the guy. He's trying to get his shit together. He's trying to live his life. Okay, I know it's crazy. It's psycho killer and shit, but whatever. And then they drive him into craziness again. It was a different idea, a different way of doing it. When the movie actually works. So, Psycho 2, hey, I had fun. Number 7, 1982's Airplane, the sequel. What? Come on. Yes, it was the same story basically all over again. Yes, it was the same setup. Yes, it was just different gags, and it wasn't the same original writing team. But Airplane 2 gave you what you wanted. It was that same in-your-face, no kind of logic humor that you're just like, oh, I'm having a good time. Some people might have said it was a little slower in the middle than the other one, and whatever. Airplane 2 was a fun ride. Still remember seeing it in the local theater and had a good time. So, no matter what, no matter how we chop it apart, I thought it was one of those flicks that gave me my money's worth. Number 6, 2007's 28 Weeks Later. I went into this kind of dreading it. I'm like, 28 Days Later was so cool. It was so much fun. What could they possibly do to make this story continue? And you know what? They did. Yeah, you had the father who abandoned his wife and the whole thing, and there was a whole different storyline, all different casts, everything like that. But I'll tell you now, I enjoyed the shit out of that movie. I thought it was really good. I thought it was well done. And I thought it was a success. For trying to give you a sequel that could at least carry along with the original, 28 Weeks Later pulls it off. Here we go. I'm going to get slam danced. 1986, number 5. The Karate Kid Part 2. Come on, man. He went to Okinawa, got a new girl. He's going to have to fight to the death in this one? Are you shitting me? Yes, yes, yes. I know nothing compares to the original Karate Kid. Yes, yes, yes. I know Ralph Macchio was about 73 years old when he played the part. Yes, it doesn't make a difference. It was cute. We enjoyed it. We had fun. It was nothing to shit on. The Karate Kid 2, hey, what more do you need? Much in that vein, 1989's number 4 placement. Ghostbusters 2. I know it wasn't as good as the first, but we still enjoyed it. We still had fun. Vigo, Vigo. Yes, I know parts of it were silly. It doesn't make a difference. I thought Ghostbusters 2, although maybe only being 70% of what the original was still a good ride and still entertaining. It wasn't shit. And for a sequel not to be shit, that's kind of a win right there. 1985, number 3. Rambo First Blood Part 2. I know it's a cartoon. I know it was nothing like the original gritty First Blood. I get it. But this is the 80s. We are all there. And we ate it up. And we loved it. Rambo was just a roller coaster ride of carnage and craziness. And I don't care who you are. After you've seen that movie back in the day, you went to your local Kmart, Montgomery Ward, or some other shit shop, and you bought yourself a fake Rambo knife for like $7, only to have it break the first time you tried to open up an envelope with it. Everybody did it. Everybody loved the movie. Everybody had fun. No, it was not as the first was. But for what it was, you sat back and you cheered it on. Speaking of, at number 2, Back in 1990, we're talking Die Hard 2. Come on. You enjoyed it, really? McClane on an airplane. You even had the T2 pop up in this thing. It was a fun ride. Yes, the ejection seat bit at the end was freaking ridiculous. And how many times can this shit keep happening to the same guy? But it was a good flick. It was enjoyable. It was solid action. It was well done. So I can have no complaints about Die Hard 2. And here's one that never gets talked about enough. And yes, compared to the original, it could never measure up. But in 1978, we got Jaws 2. I know. It's almost like the forgotten Jaws flick. Part 3 was so ridiculous, more people watched it and seen it. Part 4 was such trash, more people talk about it just so they can goof on it. But Part 2, they actually tried. They tried to give you a decent flick. A lot of production problems. A lot of fighting behind the scenes with the producers and who can get their wives and girlfriends in. I get it. But for what it was, it looked good. They tried to mix it up by putting the teens in there and making this, then the kind of the story for a degree. Jaws 2 was a clear and honest attempt to make a decent flick. It was the last one in the Jaws series to ever even try to do that. And when you seen it, you walked out saying, okay, this clearly wasn't Jaws 1. But if this was just a movie, and there was no lead into it, Jaws 2 is not bad. All right, everybody, now we're getting down to the shit that matters. The 10 best sequels of all times. Where you just said to yourself, damn, was that better than the original? Well, maybe not. But maybe. So let's go through the list. Coming in at number 10, 1980s, Superman 2. I was there. I was there for the first one. I believed a man could fly. I had the time of my life. It was a spectacle. It was an event. Just the big words coming in off the screen. So you're like, what's going to happen in part 2? And it was a perfect setup. It was a perfect setup. Come on, Zod. The other two baddies. Hey, Sarah Douglas was still pretty hot, even though they gave her big sideburns. It didn't make a difference. Superman 2 was a success. Yes, Donner had been fired, let go, whatever. Yes, they brought in a new director. Yeah, there was a little bit more slapstick in it. But for being what it was, Superman 2 was a good friggin' ride and an enjoyable film. Let's face it, the next two sucked. And let's face it, after Christopher Reeve, every other Superman was like, whatever. This was your last shot, folks. 1 and 2 is good enough for you. Number 9, 1979's Rocky Dos. Come on, how easy would it have been to drop the ball with a second Rocky flick? How easy would it have been? And they banged it out the park. Rocky wins the belt. He has a baby. Him and Adrian get married. She has complications. Everything falls apart. He pulls it together in the end, and they give you that sappy, ridiculous win at the end of it, and you didn't question shit. You were loving it and having the time of your life. Rocky 2 is just about all you could have ever hoped for a sequel in a Rocky movie. They nailed it. Stallone gave it to you. What more do you need? Number 8, 2008. The Dark Knight. Oh yeah. Much better than Batman Begins. Way surpassed it. You got one of the greatest legendary bad guy, he's not even bad guy performances. One of the best performances ever caught on film when we're talking about Heath Ledger as the Joker. How many movies do you go to see where you're more interested in the antagonist in this thing? I mean, where you're just like, I'm glued to the bad guy. It was that kind of a motion picture. Destroyed its first one. Gave you everything you needed. And really, out of all the Dark Knight series there, you know what I mean, the three of them, the Nolan flicks, it was by far the most superior. By far. Sit back and enjoy it, folks. As far as superhero movies get, it does not really get any better than that. Number 7, all the way back in 1981, we are talking about Max Rokitansky, his friggin' self, The Road Warrior. Oh my friggin' God. Talking about giving you everything you wanted and more. Was it better than Mad Max? A hell of a lot of people will tell you yes. I still have an affection for the original one, so it'll always be a toss-up. But The Road Warrior delivers. This is the zenith, really. If you had to take all the Mad Max movies and all those, even those fucking ones they're putting out now, and put one where you say, give it to them. Give them the movie to watch out of it. It's going to be The Road Warrior. Plain and simple. It's insane. It's violent. It's loaded with carnage. You got the fucking crazy biker berserker boys. Everything is going on in one flick to where you're like, whoa, this is just sensory overload. The Road Warrior is the shit. And easily, or at least debatably, can surpass its sequel. Number six. 1986. Aliens. Come on. Yes, it's a different movie than the first. The first is a horror. The second is an action, basically slash war movie with some horror elements in it. I know, it's different. It's different. But that was the brilliance of it. Aliens was amazing. I love Aliens. I think it's a great motion picture. And I love Alien. And I think they are neck and neck in that genre, giving you everything you could have ever wanted from that franchise. Two different movies, completely polar opposite, but both delivering on an apex level. Let's face it, anything with an alien and after that has sucked balls. But that motion picture gave you what you wanted. Here's one that's gonna throw you a little bit. 1973, coming in at number 5. Magnum Force. What? How do you follow up Dirty Harry? Think about it. How do you follow up one of the great anti-hero cop fucking settling whatever motion pictures of all time? All of a sudden you make 4 guys worse than him that are outside the law, and he has to bring them back in. And you do it in a way where this easily could have been cheese and it could have been shit, but you make it awesome. Magnum Force was that movie. Magnum Force was a great flick. Go back, look at it, watch it. I don't care what anybody tells you. It is a solid contender to the throne. No, all right, it's not going to dethrone Dirty Harry. But goddamn, that movie was good. Plain and simple. Point blank. It was a great flick. Let's keep moving. Number 4. 1991. Terminator 2. Is it better than the original? A lot will tell you yes. Was it? Possibly. Listen, again, I seen the first one. Much like with Mad Max, it'll always hold a place in my heart. But damn if T2 doesn't give it a run for its money. It's almost everything you could ever want in a flick. There's a little bit of humor. Thank God they cut it down and some of the humor landed up on the cutting room floor, but it had a little bit. But the suspense was there, the drama was there, the effects improved immeasurably. It was an action-packed ride toward the force. Back in the days when Cameron still gave you the shit you wanted Cameron to give you. And let's face it, after Terminator 2, that whole franchise, much like the Alien franchise, turned to shit. Even worse than the Alien franchise. It went downhill like a goddamn bobsled at a 90-degree angle. It went to shit. So, look back, you got your original, you got T2, ride them for all they're worth. It's not going to get any better. Number 3, 1974's Francis Ford Coppola, The Godfather 2. Many people will tell you it's the best in the franchise. I still have a thing for Godfather 1. But Godfather 2 could easily be written as the best one in the history books of time. And I would not argue with you. Those first 2 flicks were masterpieces. And the second one might have outshined the original one. It's just the way it goes. I still lean into the first one because you had Brando. Hey, that's just the way it is. But there's no denying this movie was a sequel that bashed it out the park. Coming in at number 2, the one, the only, Empire Strikes Back. Let's face it, everybody thought they were going to drop the ball after the original Star Wars. How could you capture the magic again? And you know what? They really didn't try. You walked out of The Empire Strikes Back kind of broken. What happened to Han? What's going to become of him? And back in the day, you had to wait 2-3 years for a sequel, folks. It's not that Disney every 8 months you're going to get the follow-up shit. You had to wait. And you were on the edge of your seat, waiting for all that time to get the resolution to what happened. the world went dark. After our victory, the evil empire came back and destroyed everybody. Whooped some ass, if you will. And you wanted to know how it turned out. They gave you a movie that was arguably better directed than the first. Possibly better acted than the first. Nothing will ever have the magic of Star Wars. We get it. We get it. But really, The Empire Strikes Back is a masterpiece. And that's just what it is. I don't know if you will ever get anything as good as The Empire Strikes Back in Star Wars anymore. I mean, it's just not going to happen anymore, folks. The franchise is dead. Go back, watch the first three. Hell, even watch the prequels. I can roll with some of them. They had some flaws, don't get me wrong. But this was the golden time. This was the time. Go live it. All right, here we are. The greatest sequel in all of motion picture history. Star Trek II, The Wrath of Khan. I don't care what anybody says. This is the pinnacle of sequels, because not only did it destroy its predecessor, Star Trek the Motion Picture, which made a lot of money and everybody liked, kind of, and everybody enjoyed, kind of, but it buried it. It was a 10 times better flick. You throw that into the fact that it is not just a movie that buried its predecessor. It is a movie upon which a 60-year franchise is measured against. Every motion picture, everything they've ever produced goes back to, was it as good as The Wrath of Khan? Was it better than The Wrath of Khan? It's the standard bearer of a franchise that is so big, so broad, so monstrous, and has gone on so long. Star Trek is part of the lexicon of the world's culture. And what sits at the top of that, what sits at the peak, and all other productions, films, shows are measured against, is Star Trek II, The Wrath of Khan. Just the way it is. Just the way it is. Even with the original cast, original 6 movies, it's the standard bearer. Even through those other Next Generation flicks that we all slept through, it's the standard bearer. Even through those J.J. Abrams flicks that we ran out into the lobby and threw up with into a goddamn bucket of popcorn, it's the standard bearer. And compared to all the TV shows that Paramount keeps putting out that nobody keeps watching because they're all trash, this is the Paramount. This is the tip of the iceberg. No other motion picture can say that was a sequel. Ever. That everything is built around it. Everybody looks up to it. No matter what was made before, no matter what was made after, everybody looks to it. It sits on top, folks. It's the king of the mountain. Star Trek II, The Wrath of Khan. Name something else. All right, everybody, that is it. This video is way too long. I was trying to make it go really fast. I didn't want to hit you with a bunch of bullshit where I give you 10 here and then another week 10 there and another week and 10. I don't want to toy with you. This was what it was, and it was a fun little run. Anyway, be good. Take care. Stay out of trouble. Be kind to a stranger. Be there for a friend. But most of all, and you goddamn know it, never take any bullshit from anybody. See y'all soon.